Welcome guys. In this lesson we are just going to look at question 5, the last question from section A of biology paper 2 for the year 2023 for the internals. Now this question is under the genetics, so we have question 5a, define the following terms used in genetics. So the first one is just a recessive allele. So for the word recessive simply means we are looking at an allele or part of our genetic information that can be shadowed by a dominant, or that can be masked by a dominant allele. So it simply means that we are looking at a characteristic that cannot be shown or expressed as long as it is in a heterozygous condition. For example, if we are looking at height, so the capital letter T denotes the tallness, then the small letter t is the shortness. So the capital letter is called a dominant because it is shadowing or dominating the small letter t. Then this, our small letter t, is called the recessive because this is being masked by the dominant. Now this combination of a capital letter and a small letter is what we call heterozygous. Now, if this heterozygous condition, what is fully meant by this? So, if we are looking at this one in terms of the height, this individual, the appearance will be tall, but has a carrier or a chance of having a child who is short. So that's what it means by this condition. So we'll say this is an allele which is shadowed or masked by a dominant allele. So it is denoted by a small letter. Then if you look at Roman number 2, we are told the phenotype. So from the pheno, we can make the word physical. So whenever we look at phenotype, we are looking at observable characteristics or the physical appearance. So we are looking at characteristics that can be seen outward. For example, like height, skin color, the hair color, the color also of the hair. All these are known as the phenotypes. So we are going to say these are observable characteristics of a living organism. Right, we move on to question B. Now under question B, we are looking at a genetic diagram that involves blood groups. So there are some notes that you need to know for a question like this to be simple. So the first one, we are told Jenny has blood group O and has a child of blood group B. She accuses Johnny of blood group AB to be the father of a child. With the help of a genetic diagram, determine the possible offspring to conclude whether or not John could be the father, right? Now, before we look at our genetic diagram, so let's look at some notes, right? So we'll first look at the phenotype. Then here we'll look at the possible genotype. Then we'll also look at the blood groups each individual can have or not have. So the first one, we'll look at blood group A. So the possible genotype can be AA. So this AA is called homozygous for blood group A. So if the question states that a person who is homozygous for blood group A, the genotypes that you're supposed to write is AA. Then the other possible genotype is AO. So this one is called heterozygous. Now, the first question was about a recessive. So what you need to know about heterozygous in terms of blood group is that O is recessive to A, which means that A is dominant. So this O is shadowed by A. That's why this person is not called blood group AO. This person is still called blood group A. So that's a point. Now, if you look at the condition AA, so AA cannot have a child with blood group O. So this is not possible. Then let's have a look at the second blood group. So we need to look at the phenotype blood group B. So blood group B is similar to blood group A. We have the homozygous. So homozygous simply means you need to have the same letters. So that is homozygous. Then heterozygous, you have BO. So BO is the same as AO in terms of heterozygous, and also O is still recessive to B. So B is dominant over this one. Then the similar note that we can take from here is that BB cannot have, so cannot have blood group O. It's not possible. So as long as if an individual has blood group B, BB, homozygous BB, then there is no chance of having a child with blood group O. Because for O to exist, we need that to exist in homozygous. Then from there, we can also look at the third one, blood group AB. Now, this one has only one possible genotype, which is AB. Now, if you look at this one, A is dominant. What of B? B is also dominant. So what happens if you have a condition where you have two genes that are dominant? This condition is called codominance. Codominance simply means two genes of different characteristics, but they are able to express themselves at once. So there is no gene in this case that is recessive. So whenever you have such a case where you have two genes with different characteristics, but they are able to express themselves, then you have a condition that we call a codominance. Then the other note also here is AB cannot have blood group O. So to summarize, AA cannot have, or BB cannot have, AB cannot have. Now let's look at the last note. So the last note that we are going to look at is blood group O. Blood group O has only one genotype, so it's always OO. So for someone to be with blood group O, this should always exist in homozygous. So we only need OO. So whenever you hear OO, it simply means you are going to use OO. I mean, whenever you hear a person has blood group O, the genotype is always OO. Now, do we have the type of blood group C? O cannot have, yes. Blood group O, say, blood group O cannot have, the first one cannot have AA, it's not possible. The second one cannot have BB. Then the other one cannot have AB, it's not possible to have AB. So after we are now done, at least having some notes, let's now look at the two individuals. So the first one, we'll begin with the man, which is Johnny. Then here we are going to look at the female. So men, we know that we are looking at the head of the house, so that's the reason. But I'm just joking, you can begin with either of the two, it's okay. Right, so I'm going to first begin with parental phenotype. So in terms of blood group phenotype, you just have to state the blood group given. So the parental phenotype for Johnny, we are told John has blood group AB. So the phenotype, you just say blood group AB. You state the type of blood group. What of the Jenny? Jenny has O. So you just say blood group O. So if in here we are supposed to use the name. So say blood group O. So after this, what comes? Then we move on to parental genotype. Right, so if we now look at the parental genotype for blood group A, we said there is only one. You just have to say AB. Then for O, it's also OO. I think the situation where you have to think is when the question is stating that blood group A, because A can exist in AA or AO. So for that one, you have to think carefully because we have two possible genotypes. Then after this one, let's look at the parental gametes. So parental gametes, we just have to separate these alleles. So say A, B, O, O. Then after that, you just have to make your genetic diagram. So this one, here, we are going to have the heterozygous. So this one is blood group A. Remember, O is recessive. Another blood group A. This one is blood group B. Then this one is also blood group B. So from the genetic diagram, if you look at the ratio, it's 2 to 2. There is a 50% chance to have a child with blood group A and another 50% of having a child with blood group B. Now, since we've proved from the genetic diagram that there is a 50% chance for the two to have a blood group B, then Johnny could be the father of the child because the child has a blood group B. So there is a possibility. So we'll just say genotypes of F1. So the F1, we are looking at the offsprings that were produced or that can be produced by the parents. So let's hope we've communicated. So for more information, if you need more of these, please feel free to comment in the comment section below. Like the video, then subscribe, and also remember to share with others, and if possible, comment where you are watching me from. So that's it for this video. Thanks for watching.